demanded that the government launches an immediate inquiry into child exploitation in Britain, despite not doing that for 14 years in power.
There is no doubt that Keir Starmer's leadership of the Labour Party has hit turbulence. The fallout is even more impossible to ignore. From mass deflections of council members to damaging reports about his time as Director of Public Prosecutions, the scandals are piling up. Labour is facing internal chaos and external criticism that could impact its political future. Before we continue our voyage into this political firestorm, we want to urge you to watch this video till the end. You must do so because we are going to reveal shocking facts that will leave gobsmacked.
I mean, he's saying Britain's been terribly badly led, and that the grooming scandal, the mass rape scandal, which has resurfaced, and transcripts of what was said in court have been online, and I recommend you at home don't read them.
In Broxbourne, a staggering statistics emerged. 20 councillors resigned, collectively representing 250 years of Labour membership. Their decision wasn't impulsive, instead a calculated response to Starmer's perceived deviation from Labour's traditional values. Their anger was directed at the way he handled issues such as the winter fuel payments to pensioners, the WASP women pension debacle, and his controversial stands on international matters like Gaza.
Party. 20 councillors from Broxtowe Borough Council in Nottinghamshire have resigned from the party altogether. This is a sudden exit of the group and was led by council leader Milan Radulovic.
But this isn't just about Broxbourne. There is a clear indication of discontent among Labour members across the country, and it is spreading with each passing day, which signals a broader issue within the party. When lifelong supporters of Labour start leaving in their numbers, the party faces a deep identity crisis. Labour's troubles extend far beyond resignations. The party's performance in local elections has been catastrophic at best, and the statistics prove this assertion. Since the last general elections, Labour has lost 33 council seats, while managing to gain only 6, which has resulted in a net loss of 27 seats. Meanwhile, rival parties such as the Conservatives and Reform UK have gained traction. Even smaller parties like the Demo Rates and Grains are seeing growth. These losses are particularly shocking considering Labour's recent general election victory. Instead of building on that momentum, the party seems to be losing support. This isn't even a regional problem, it is a national one, with the party losing ground across the country. Then you have Elon Musk's criticism of Starmer's handling of the grooming gang scandal. His statement has reignited scrutiny of Starmer's time as chief prosecutor of the PPS. Musk accused Starmer of failing to address child exploitation scandals during his time at Child Prosecution Services, CPS. Multiple reports have revealed systematic failures of local authorities and law enforcement, and Starmer's CPS tenure coincided with these events. The report described the abuse as an epidemic.
I kid you not. How can this be real? They are releasing convicted pedophiles from prison in order to put people in prison for Facebook posts. There were, and I'm simply stating a fact, there were migrant rape gangs in England that would run around and prey on young girls, gang rape them, and some people found that objectionable, which obviously it should be objectionable, and they were upset about that, and so they complained about it online.
While the CPS was responsible for approving serious charges, there were widespread delays and dismissal of cases. So, Musk's accusations have prompted calls for a fresh inquiry into the handling of these scandals. Conservative leaders like Kemi Bendendonch have echoed this demand.
For a national inquiry into the rape gang scandal. Many people across the country agree.
Many campaigners and survivors have told GB News that the ICSA report was a sham. It only looked at a handful of locations. There are 49, at least, other towns and cities that they say need serious investigation.
Over the course of many years, thousands of young British girls were systematically raped and abused by gangs in towns and cities across the UK.
Plucked off street corners, thrown into taxis, taken into kebab shops, plied with alcohol, plied with drugs, and raped, exploited, murdered, and victimised by these gangs.
And in some cases, it appears police politicians and local officials colluded to keep this scandal under wraps.
Internally, Labour's fractures are becoming increasingly evident. Steve Edwards, a councillor, publicly branded Starmer a liar and accused them of abandoning Labour's core values. Another prominent Labour figure has criticised Starmer for promoting a centrist agenda that undermines local democracy. These criticisms underscore a broader concern.
Politicians, and I mean politicians, who sat in government for many years, are casual about honesty, decency, truth and the rule of law, calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right, then that affects politics, because a robust debate can only be based on the true facts.
Labour under Starmer's leadership is seen as unrecognisable to many long-time members. The party's historic commitment to protect the most vulnerable, particularly pensioners and children, appears compromised. This disillusionment among the public is also echoed by councillors and constituents where anti-Starmer's sentiment has risen. And if you think this statement is mere wishful thinking, polls show that Starmer is the most unpopular Prime Minister in nearly half a century.
It's still, 12 years on from that day, and we are still going round this same hamster wheel.
We need to see Keir Starmer stand up in the House of Commons and issue you a full and unreserved apology, don't we?
You know what, Bev? Empty words mean nothing to me. I want to see him put his actions where his mouth is. Blaming this problem on far-right extremists is actually dodging the issue. He was the director of public prosecutions when I resigned from Rochdale, and I resigned because the charges that were being levelled at the predators and the abusers of those men, I knew in detail. I knew what had happened to them because I've spoken to them all. Being threatened at gunpoint, being passed around a room like a ball, being raped on a daily basis. And he made the decision alongside the prosecutors.
After only 6 months in office, his approval ratings are lower than those of Margaret Thatcher at her lowest point, or Tony Blair during his decline. The dissatisfaction comes from policy missteps, including the cuts to winter fuel payments, increased taxation, and the proposed tuition fee hike. This rapid decline is alarming. Most prime ministers experience a gradual drop in popularity. But Starmer's ratings have nosedived at a record-setting rate. Labour risk losing its parliamentary majority if this trend is not curtailed. Under Rachel Reeves's economic policies, Labour has presided through stagnation and looming recession. The projected economic growth before the election has been replaced with despair. Furthermore, the GDP has stalled and Labour has received more criticism after Reeves announced a proposed €40 million tax hike. Adding all these issues to rising inflation of approximately 3%, Starmer and Labour face an uphill task.
Economist at the Bank of England before I became a Member of Parliament, and also in financial services at Halifax Bank of Scotland. I've got the experience to do this job as Chancellor of the Exchequer, as well as the 14 years as I had as a Member of Parliament, chairing the Business Select Committee and as Shadow Chancellor. People should judge me on the job that I do, fixing the economy, fixing the mess that we inherited from the Conservative government.
But what do you say about the fact there was a change made to the profile and it now says retail banking, it once said economist? Just explain that.
Well, I'm an economist. I studied economics. I got a master's in economics from the London School of Economics, and I worked as an economist at the Bank of England. I then used that experience in the private sector, working for Halifax Bank of Scotland, where I worked in financial services before I became an MP 14 and a bit years ago.
But it was changed, wasn't it, the profile?
Well, I worked as an economist. That is my profession. I am an economist.
Small businesses in particular are feeling the weight of Labour's missteps. Labour's policies, including Angel Rayner's Employment Rights Bill, are expected to cause businesses an additional financial burden of nearly PS5 billion. So, small businesses are expected to lay off workers. 100,000 jobs are at risk because of this decision.
And then accelerated it so that those women didn't have the chance to prepare for that. We said we'll right that injustice, and within the 5 years of the Labour government we will compensate them for the money that they've lost. This is their money that they've had stolen off them, and it's completely unacceptable. And any government should act responsibly to these women who have looked after their children through that period. They're often looking after elderly relatives. relatives now, and they're a part of our society that have felt really unjust by the way they've been treated, and it's absolutely right that we deal with this issue.
Labour's internal and external problems show that the party faces a bleak future. The party is facing a combination of mass resignations, electoral losses, and economic struggles in addition to Starmer's unpopularity has created a perfect storm. All these challenges suggest that Labour could lose as many as 200 seats if an election is held in Britain today, a devastating reversal from the recent electoral victory. Starmer's leadership is being questioned not just by the public, but by Labour's members and councillors. This internal rebellion, coupled with mounting criticism, leaves the party in a precarious position. A former Labour MP, Rosie Duffield, has told the BBC that Sir Keir Starmer's team cares more about greed and power than making a difference, in her first broadcast interview since resigning from the Labour Party. In her resignation letter, published by the Sunday Times, the Canterbury MP lambasts the Prime Minister for accepting gifts worth tens of thousands of pounds while scraping the winter fuel payment and keeping the two-child benefit cap.
It's being reported that Rosie Duffield has resigned as a Labour MP. The Times newspaper is reporting that she's blaming Sir Keir Starmer's cruel and unnecessary policies and the freebies row that is engulfing him and his party.
Speaking to the BBC, Duffield said Labour was in my heart and in my soul. It is so profoundly disappointing to me as a Labour voter and an activist to see this is what we have become, she added. She said after days of revelations about donations and the leadership's refusal to apologise, that the leadership seemed more about greed and power than making a difference. I just can't take any more. In addition, some members are accusing Starmer of forcing his will upon the party and oppressing those who disagree with him. This claim was made by 10 of the Broxbourne councillors. They claimed 10 of them had been blocked from standing for Labour at upcoming local elections for Nottinghamshire County Council after questioning the winter fuel policy. Frankly, the Keir Starmer situation is becoming more precarious every day, and it hasn't been helped by the handling of the grooming gang's possible cover-up. Do you think Keir Starmer is making the Labour Party worse? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.